Venom Assault has 1 to 5 players working together to recruit soldiers in order to save the world from an evil organization's schemes. Spyglass Games provided this in exchange for an honest review. There's a lot to this game, and the different mission cards can change things up. Because of that, I'm going to focus on the suggested setup in the rulebook. I'm also just going to give you a general idea of how things work because I have a lot to say in my actual review. The 12 mission cards show the scenario's name and story, setup and victory rules, as well as what happens when the event track progresses. Venom Strikes cards advance the event track, and let's just say that bad things happen. Really bad. The first player will draw an event card that stays active for the round. Events are usually bad for the players, but sometimes something good happens, or even nothing at all. In deck building games, you start with basic cards that allow you to recruit stronger cards. At the end of your turn, you may retire a played card. Later on, basic cards just clog up your hand, so deck thinning is an important strategy. See those numbers in the middle? The left one is the card's cost. The middle is its recruitment points, and the right is its combat value. Spend recruitment points to purchase as many cards as you'd like. Do not refill the training ground until the end of the turn. These Freedom Squadron members will boost your deck, allowing you to deal damage to Venom's global organization. I'll talk more about the training ground later, but the FAQ has a rule for cycling out the cards here if they're too expensive. You basically pass during your recruitment phase, then swap all of the cards for new ones. Some cards in play will have global effects depending on the phase. These apply to everyone, so you'll be scanning the board often. The first decision in the tactical phase is to choose a Venom leader, adjust the health and defense tracks accordingly. Resolve the leader's tactical abilities, then any global effects. Finally, rearrange your play area to establish a combat leader and support. For your leader, you'll only use the combat value to see how many dice to roll. For supports, use only their abilities. For example, Corporal Carnage gives you 5 dice to roll if he's your leader. Sled offers 3 dice, but then you gain access to Carnage's ability. Add +2 to the rolled value of all combat dice. You can skip the tactical phase for whatever reason. For example, you don't have any soldiers in your play area. The Venom leader's health means you need that many successes to beat them. The defense value means the level of difficulty for the check. For example, defeating Sabotage requires 3 rolls of 3 or higher. By the way, check out her ability. She discards one of your vehicles, your choice, and all Venom support soldiers. Wait, Venom support? Yep, they get support cards too. See the right-hand number? The final step of the tactical phase is drawing that many Venom support cards. These cards are modifiers that make combat tougher. Constrictors force you to reroll 1 successful roll, then subtract 1 from its new value. Sidewinders force you to discard a supporting soldier. If you're in the air, Night Stars force you to reroll 2 successes. Wait, air? The board's locations are in different zones: air, Arctic, land, and sea. Certain cards will give you a boost or penalty depending on the zone. Zone effects also apply to many of the Venom leaders and supports, and even some events. After defeating a Venom leader, take the reward card beneath it. This is a one-and-done effect you can use during your turn. They are powerful, so use them wisely. Some reward cards are needed to win the mission. Discard your cards in play, refresh the game board, and now the next player gets to go. It all sounds really complicated, but if you've ever played a deck builder, most of the gameplay will come quickly to you. The mission cards provide win conditions usually tied to defeating a number of Venom leaders, discovering certain rewards, and so on. If Venom's event track reaches 5, the mission card's final effect is a chance to pull off a miraculous victory. Say, one last round to try and find a few specific cards. Before moving on, I want to talk about an official variant introduced in the expansion. While we don't own the expansion, we came across this on BoardGameGeek. Our first 2 plays were significantly longer than the box's time. With these rules, games took half as long. The change is simple. At the start, retire a recruit and a commando, then draw 2 cards from the recruit deck. That's it. Now you have additional firepower to start your fight against Venom. Play cards, draft cards, defeat Venom leaders, and work together in order to accomplish the mission. That's Venom Assault. Venom Assault needs a dining table. The main board is large, and player areas can grow to about the size of a placemat. If you use the jumpstart rules and luck isn't incredibly good or bad, games can take 45 to 60 minutes. Otherwise, they could be all over the place, 60 minutes, 90, or even longer. As always, this includes setup and takedown. Although you'll have extra players helping defeat Venom, more players will make rounds longer and games will feel slower. You'll want younger players or those with weaker vision to sit at the bottom of the board so it's easier to read. There is a ton of reading, I'll talk about this later, and text is rather small. The general gameplay isn't super complex, but kids younger than 9 may struggle with the reading level and optimization and tactical sides of the game. Our second game of Venom Assault has started in a bad spot. Venom Commander and Ouroboros came out right away. This crushed us. Then El Guapo came out. Then Octavia came out on water. We lost fights before we could even roll. To make things worse, the training ground was full of expensive cards. We lost after 90 minutes, but it felt so much longer. Our first game was over 2 hours, but we had fun and it felt quicker. We were looking forward to our second game. We were not looking forward to our third. Thankfully, we found the Jumpstart variant I mentioned earlier, and it is a literal game changer. Venom Assault's base game is good. It has solid, legendary-style deck building, a brilliant tactical battle system, and interesting mechanisms for handling different card types, locations, support, and even rewards. Unfortunately, it's super swingy and heavily depends on luck. Legendary offers more hand management decisions, even if enemies are equally tied to luck, and End is around the same length and is a masterpiece. But then we introduce the Jumpstart rules. All of a sudden, you feel like super soldiers who can actually compete against the baddies. In Legendary Marvel, you draft cards to play off their relationships, triggering powerful combos, and dealing damage because you are superheroes. In here, you're humans. You're going to miss your shots, or guns will lock up, or an enemy's cronies will distract you so they can get away. The dice luck here is thematic, but until you have rewards in hand, it's very hard to mitigate it, especially early on. Once you use the Jumpstart rules, you begin with 2 super soldiers who can kick butt in battle and or recruit more super soldiers. You get to the action quicker, and the game shines because of it. I had heard of G.I. Joe, but I didn't know what it was all about. My parents showed me an episode, and it was full of explosions, cheesy jokes, more explosions, bizarre schemes, even more explosions, and about 1 billion characters. This game captures that perfectly. Well, aside from the explosions. Each battle is tense because of the brilliant tactical system. Some decisions are simple, but you'll have some tough choices later on. I really like the vehicles and locations. Locations remind me of the DC Comics deck building game. They stay out and grant bonuses during the game. There aren't many of them, so take advantage of them when they are available, especially if you can get one early. Vehicles can't be combat leaders, but provide excellent support. Manipulate dice or enemies, provide bonuses in specific zones, and so on. Those zones are a cool addition. In Legendary, the odd character here or there might get a bonus on a rooftop or in the sewers. Zones affect and are affected by many cards, so they feel like a stronger part of the game. I do wish that the card spaces on the board were bigger. It's easy for cards to slide and cover the zone, which can be an issue later if it slips your mind when you're scanning to see which leader to fight. It's not an especially attractive game, but it works fine. The cards are a little flimsy, but the tokens are nice and thick. The art is less distracting than Legendary's, and the graphic design is mostly clean. The icons can get lost on the colored boxes, especially if you're sitting to the side or across the table. I wish these had their own box or a bright outline. The rulebook has almost everything you need, and hopefully the next printing includes rules for the Jumpstart and cycling the training ground. Its layout is rough. I reviewed prototypes that are easier to read. A professional editor and designer can make it excellent. For example, the Cycling the Training Ground section in the FAQ reads, "Shuffle all Freedom Squadron cards in the training ground into the recruitment pile." It's a little clunky, but the worst part is that there isn't a recruitment pile. There's a recruitment deck and a retirement pile. How was this missed? Also, the rulebook usually uses you when talking about players, but sometimes says the player/players, and even worse, he/his. Seriously? Venom Assault is a deck building game that is familiar in many ways, yet does more than enough to stand on its own. I think that Legendary Marvel is the one to have if you prefer clever hand management with a manageable amount of luck. It's also easier to find in stores, has about 1 billion expansions, and is shorter. Ish. I think Venom Assault is the one to have if you prefer clever deck construction with a high amount of luck, sillier but stronger stories, and want something that expands on what you've seen before. It also has a more unique theme, and although it's a newer, smaller publisher, they're active online and recently put out an expansion that sounds pretty darn cool. It adds a teamwork mechanism to give players things to do on someone else's turn,